I got just a little bit of a drizzle out here right now. They say that there's a big storm blowing in, and it's supposed to be here probably about noon or so. And as long as I get about 1 inch of rain a week, I mean, that grass in the front yard is actually starting to revegetate. It's actually starting to regrow. And that grass in the front yard, I actually had about 7 animals per acre on that grass. I got about 1.5 acres of grass in the front, and you know, I had 10 animals on it, and they grazed it down pretty good. All right, they grazed it down pretty good, but now it's starting to grow back. And I was actually taking a look at the whole thing, and I was like, you know, I could honestly put another 10 animals in the front yard. You know, I got grass coming back in the front yard. You know, I could put another 10 animals in the front yard if I felt like it. And which I do feel like it, so I probably will do it. You know, these are the animals that are gonna be going to market. You know, I got this big black Brangus over here, and then I got the gray animal over there next to him. I'll be selling these animals probably in the next week or so, next week or two. The big ones, they got a lot of flies on them. I have to take care of that. And when I sell these animals, when I sell these 3-4 animals, I got that red heifer over there too. She's fattening up a little bit. You know, I got these animals, and when I sell these 3 or 4 animals, you know, I'll make enough money to buy 8 or something like that. And you know, I'll probably just put the animals in the front yard. You know, I'll just sell these animals, and then I'll just bring in some more animals and put them in the front yard. I got some grass coming back in, so and the grass in the front, it's if it's revegetating, the feed values of the grass are going to be a little bit higher, so that's good in terms of me preconditioning animals on it. And so you know, I was taking a look at the whole thing here in about a month and a half. I'll be selling about 20 out of my 47 animals. You know, I'll be selling about 20 out of my 47 animals. And you know, these animals, okay, so another way to look at it is that when I sell these animals, when I sell these 20 animals, I will probably well, I will have 27 animals still left, right? I will still have 27 animals left. And when I sell those 20 animals, I will probably make enough money to buy about 35. So what will ultimately end up happening is that I will effectively right now I have 47 animals, but when I sell my animals, and I only reinvest my earnings, I don't utilize any debt. All right, I don't use any debt at all. Okay, legitimately zero debt, only my money. All right, I take the money that I make and I reinvest it. I will effectively be able to grow the size of my herd by about 15 animals over the next about 2 months, over the next month. And 2 months after that, I will have more animals ready for sale. All right, I will have more animals ready for sale, okay? And they will all more or less be in the same situation as these animals that I'm taking to market right now. And so, you know, the whole idea is sell them big and buy them small, okay? It's legitimately that simple, okay? It is that simple. There's nothing, it's not rocket science, okay? You know, if you can't understand that, I mean, you know, I don't know what to tell you. You know, if you have average IQ, you can understand that, okay? If you have anywhere near average IQ, you can understand that. I sell them big and I buy them small. All right, I sell them at about 750, maybe 800, and I buy them at about 250, 300. All right, you know, it is legitimately that is what I do, okay? Every once in a while, I'll buy an animal at 400 pounds. You know, like in the situation that I'm in right now, I actually got a lot of rain coming in, and it's making my phone wet. And so I'm going to go into the barn. But, you know, every once in a while, you know, like I've been buying a couple of 400-pound animals, and I will probably continue to buy 400-pound animals. You know, I'll just keep buying them up to about 450. Because the whole thing is that if I'm selling them at 850, you know, think about it for 30 seconds, okay? If I sell an animal at 850, and that animal's a number 1 to 1.5 type medium large frame animal and raised to a commercial standard, okay? I took very good care of the animal, and the animal's a beef animal, okay? Oh, whoops! I just put my hand in front of the camera. I'm trying to wipe my phone off. So sit there and think about it, okay? All right, sit there and think about it. if I sell animals, right? If I have a number 1 to 1.5 type medium large frame animal, and that animal weighs this animal actually got steered yesterday. The little one, this little one right here, actually got steered yesterday. So if I have an animal, right, and that animal weighs 800 pounds, and I sell that animal, will I get more money for an 800-pound animal or a 350-pound animal? Right? Will I get more money for an 800-pound animal than a 250-pound animal? Right? The answer is yes. Granted that they were raised to a commercial standard and I have the right type of animal, right? This is the other animal that'll be going to market. This is what I mean by a number 1 to 1.5 type. Well, this is a number 1 type animal. All right, this is a number 1 type animal, and he probably weighs 750. All right, he probably weighs 750, and he's a number 1 type animal. Short tail, good looking calf, right? He weighs about 750. I'll probably get he's a number 1 type animal, okay? So if I buy an animal like this, if I sell an animal like this, and then I buy a 250-pound animal, will I get more money for an animal like this than a 250-pound animal? Yes, right? Drastically more. The animal weighs 3 times as much. The animal is completely straightened up. I mean, he's effectively just completely good to go, okay? He's had all of his vaccinations. He's preconditioned. He's fattened to a commercial standard, right? I mean, he's been fixed up and everything. So I have this animal, right? He's been raised properly. He's 750 pounds. He's got a little short tail on him. He's obviously still a calf. He's probably not even a year old, and he weighs 750 pounds. And when you take a look at him, you can tell that he is a bit fat, right? He is raised to a commercial standard. I followed the commercial guidelines for raising my animals, right? So I sell an animal like this. I'll probably sell him when he's a little bit heavier, okay? Maybe in a week or 2, right? And so let's say that he hits the scale at 800 pounds. Will I make more money on an animal like this? Will an animal like this cost more than a 250-pound animal? Yes, it will. Yes, the animal will, right? I mean, but this little bit of rain that I got, it's not supposed to be hitting real hard until about the afternoon. So, the rain's not supposed to be hitting real hard until about the afternoon. So it'll probably pass here in just a minute. But that's the big idea, okay? I sell them big and I buy them small. All right, that's legitimately, it is that simple, okay? It's not complicated. The cattle side of things, it's probably a simpler thing than growing grass. Because when you're growing grass, you have to, if you do not understand mineral balances, like if you do not understand the metabolization and stuff like that, you're effectively not going to be able to grow very much plant material. But and I was also going to say, I completely forgot about this. If you go and you get a soil test, you can actually get some rough idea numbers for your plants. Okay, you can get a rough idea of what fertilizers would be recommended for your soil. But it's not a dynamic situation. You will just get a snapshot of what your soil is at that moment, and then when you utilize the fertilizer, you can you can grow your crop. But the thing about me is that when I grow crop, I go and I analyze my field by myself all the time. All right, I legitimately collect mineral data off of my field probably 3 or 4 times every single day. Right, technically, because I'll be sitting there and I'll be looking out at my field and I can take a look at the grass. Oh, the grass is starting to revegetate. The grass is starting to revegetate. I utilized 50 units of fertilizer in the last month and a half, and I utilized this fertilizer on a 5:1:3 NPK ratio, right? And I had about 7 inches of rain in that month and a half. How much do I, in the total utilization of fertilizer over the last 8 months has been about 200 units, right? So in this scenario, and then I take the data and then I can figure it out, right? But that's the thing about me is that, I take data effectively all the time. I effectively take data all the time. All right, I sit there and I take data all the time. And so I'll take a look at my field. I'll say, I utilized this, this level of fertilizer over the last 2 months. The grass is in this stage of development. There is this much biomass on the field right now. How much fertilizer, how much mineral mass do I believe the plants will metabolize in the weather conditions and with the type of plant that I have? How much minerals, how much mineral mass do I believe the plants will metabolize, right? And then I can take a look at the data, and then I can, fertilize my field properly. Depending on the growth stage of your plant, depending on the type of plant that you're growing, depending on, there are, your weather conditions, you will be utilizing different fertilizer. All right, but growing grass is very difficult. All right, growing grass is very difficult. If everybody could grow grass like me, everybody would be doing it. I legitimately grow so much grass. I can graze 5 animals per acre 24/7, and my grass is still 2 or 3 feet tall, and it costs me about $350 a month. If people could do it, they would do it. Opinions don't matter. All right, opinions do not matter, okay? What are you going to do with your opinions? You don't want to be in a situation where you have a bunch of opinions. You don't want to be in a situation where you have a bunch of opinions. Nobody cares about your opinion. Let's see it. Find somebody that does better than me. And, in terms of farming, I legitimately outperformed the entire U.S. economy, not just farmers. All right, not just farmers. And I am not giving you the wrong information. I am not maliciously giving you wrong information. I am telling you this is exactly how I do things. I walk out onto the field, I take a look at the biomass that I have, and I think about, how much fertilizer have I put on this field so far? What do I believe the mineral levels of this field are? And with the weather conditions and the current state of the biomass, of the grass that I have, how much minerals do I anticipate this field will metabolize over a set amount of time? You can always re-fertilize your field, right? You can fertilize your field, you can always re-fertilize your field. And so it's like, if you put fertilizer on a field and you take a look at it, and you're taking a look at it and you go, oh well, maybe whatever, then you can always re-fertilize it in 2 weeks. The big advantage of growing grass. Okay, so the whole thing about growing grass is that grass is very complicated to grow. It is very complicated to grow grass because it is very dynamic. It is effectively metabolizing its environment 24/7 all the time. And if you do not, give the grass the proper level of minerals and et cetera, you will effectively not grow anything. All right, there are a lot of people who fertilize fields, and the fertilizer doesn't do anything because they use the wrong fertilizer, and then it doesn't work. All right, and this is also why I give you the information that I do, because this is very relevant. All right, when you're taking a look at a grass, you have to understand that your field already has minerals in it. If you want to figure out what is going on with your field in terms of the mineral levels that already exist, how do you do that? You walk across your field and look for a broadleaf plant. Look for multiple broadleaf plants. I've already talked about, clovers. Clovers are very good because clovers are a legume, and legumes interact with a bacteria in the soil called rhizobacter. All right, those rhizobacter inoculate the roots of the plant. They will physically, inoculate the roots of the plant, and when they do this, they will create nodules. All right, there will be like tumors on the roots of the plant, and those tumors take nitrogen from the atmosphere and feed it to the plant, and in return, the plant feeds the bacteria carbohydrates. All right, so when you have a legume plant, you are effectively looking at a plant that has the same mineral concentrations as all of the plants around it, but it is producing more nitrogen for itself. All right, so if you take a look at a field and your field has nothing on it, you haven't done anything to your field, and you walk across the field and you see a clover plant, and that clover plant is doing significantly better than the other plants around it, chances are you have a nitrogen deficiency on your field. If you walk across your field and let's say you find some kind of a broadleaf plant, let's say you find a sagebrush and you find a sagebrush and you find a twigweed and you find a sunflower plant, and these plants are all scattered across your field. You can take data from observing those plants. All right, you can collect your information by looking at that plant material and analyzing it. All right, the physical structure of the plant will show signs of nutrient deficiencies if there is a mineral imbalance in your field. All right, so you take a look at your field. And also, when it comes to a broadleaf plant, your broadleaf plant will utilize more potassium than a grass in terms of an overall ratio. All right, and so, you know, there are multiple ways to do this, but understand that, you know, growing crop is very, very, very difficult. It is very difficult, but the benefit of growing crop is that it is very cheap. Very cheap. Even if you messed it up for 10 years, you would be out like $5,000. If you messed it up every single year for 10 years in a row, you would still only lose like $5,000. That's the big benefit. Once you learn how to grow grass, you can but it's going to take a long time. Growing grass will take a long time. But once you relatively understand how, even if you mess it up for 10 years, you will be out like $7,000. That's it. You will lose like $700 a year. And if you're watching, if you're watching my channel and you're legitimately learning how to farm, you're trying to, you're really putting in your effort to learn how to farm, you should not be doing the wrong thing completely. All right, you should not be doing, oh my God, I'm just going to go out and throw 1717 on my field. Why would you do that? Right? Why would you do that? What's your reason for that? Every unit of phosphorus that your plant metabolizes, it will essentially utilize 5 units of nitrogen and 3 units of potassium. Why would you put straight 1717 on your field? Right? If you have a good reason for it, 1717, the reason that I'm doing that is because I'm actually going to plow my field, and I'll be plowing my field at about 6 inches deep. And, I want to utilize this positively charged fertilizer so I can put it in the soil profile when I plow my field. And then as the plant is growing, I will supplement the plant with a nitrogen, with like a urea ammonium sulfate. And my soil pH is at about a 7.5. Right? My soil pH is at about a 7.5. And my soil has a lot of calcium in it and a good bit of potassium in it. But the thing about the potassium is that, I don't really have a potassium deficiency until I start fixing the phosphorus deficiency and the nitrogen deficiency. And once I start fixing the phosphorus deficiency and the nitrogen deficiency, then I actually end up with the potassium deficiency. If you have a reasoning like that, then that's good. But you should not just be throwing 1717 on your field all the time. You should not just be doing that. It's not going to do anything. You're not going to get much biomass accumulation. All right, for every unit of phosphorus that your plant needs, it also needs about 5 units of nitrogen. You want to go and figure it out for yourself? Go and figure it out for yourself. I'm not telling you the wrong thing. Take a look at my field. I actually do this stuff. All right, I actually do this stuff. And when it comes to farming, I effectively took a dump on the entire U.S. economy. The whole thing, not just farmers. I effectively out-earned the entire U.S. economy. The whole thing. All right, it's not magically easier for me to make money. All right, I effectively out-earned the entire U.S. economy. The whole thing. All right, and I'm not making this up. Go and see if you can find anybody that does even relatively as good as me. See if you can find one person. All right, see if you can go and find one person. When it comes to farming, I legitimately do so well at farming that I take a dump on the entire U.S. economy. The whole thing. All right, effectively everybody. It doesn't even get close. All right, and I'm sitting here giving you my information for free. I'm telling you how I do this stuff. Nobody did this for me, and I still figured it out. All right, I'm not some malicious person giving you the wrong information. I mean, take a look. I took all back there to take a look at my grass yesterday. I graze my grass 24/7 with 4 animals per acre at 500 pounds, and my grass still looks like that. Right? I mean, take a look at my cattle. I mean, I showed you that black animal a little bit ago. That's what a commercial animal looks like. When you raise an animal to a commercial standard, a #1 type commodity animal, that's what the animal looks like. I effectively raise my animals to the highest standards. And when it comes to money, I effectively take a dump on everybody. It doesn't even get close. And here's the thing. Like, okay, let's take a look at it. All right, let's take a look at it. So over the next 2 months, I will be liquidating 20 out of my 47 animals, right? So when I liquidate these 20 animals, and I liquidate them at this size, right? I liquidate them like this. And let's say I buy them small, right? Right? I'll effectively be able, okay, if I just reinvest my earnings, all right? That's all I just take the money that I make and I reinvest it. I will be able to buy, with the 20 animals that I sell, I will probably be able to buy like 35. All right, and for me to grow grass, and this animal's actually bigger than the other animal. If y'all want to take a look at him, but this is a Brangus animal, okay? If you take a Brahma animal and you cross it with an Angus animal, this is effectively what you get. All right, this is a Brangus animal. But here's the thing, when I sell my 20 animals, I will effectively make enough money to buy 35. And that's just me just reinvesting the money that I make. All right, just the money that I make, not taking any loans or anything. All right, okay. And I've already said that the whole idea of this, I understand that I'm making a boatload of money. All right, I understand. And I've taken a look at this, and I've been taking a look at this for a couple of days. I understand that I make a boatload of money doing this. What am I going to do with the money, right? Am I going to go and, oh my God, now that I have this money and, I'm going to go and buy myself a Lamborghini and a road? No, I'm not, right? I'm going to put all the money back in my business. I've already decided to do that. You know me, I stick to my plans. That's the thing about me, is that when I tell you I'll do something, I do it. All right, I told you this was exactly the direction that I'm going to go, and this is exactly what I'm going to do. And I more or less did it. I actually did better than I thought. All right, I actually did better than I thought. And so let's take a look at this whole situation. So if I just reinvest my earnings, I don't take any debt, I don't take any leverage, I just reinvest my earnings. If I take that money, I will expand my balance sheet by 50% over the next 2 months. I will just about double the size of my balance sheet over the next 3 months. And here's the thing, I'm actually looking into taking leverage. All right, so think about it like that. When it comes to farming, I legitimately did so well farming that I took a dump on the entire US economy. The whole thing. Legitimately. All right, and I did it by starting myself a commercial cattle farm on a 10.5-acre ranch by myself. I don't have little minions running around helping me. I legitimately do all this stuff more or less by myself. Everything. And I'm a first-generation farmer. All right, and at the end of the day, I'm also not a malicious person. I'm not giving you the wrong information. I'm not telling you the wrong thing. I am telling you the truth. Growing grass is very complicated. It is very difficult. When you're watching me grow grass, you're effectively getting to watch somebody who does like the best in the entire world at it. I legitimately do better than effectively everybody. By a long shot. I'm actually going to go and push the animals up front. I got a couple animals. The animals that I brought in, I got, they're sitting in the back just looking because they don't know that the food is up here. But okay, so my grass right now, this grass that I have on my field is being grazed 24/7. All right, legitimately, I just let the animals out on it. I just let them eat as much as they want. I graze this grass 24/7 with 4 animals per acre, 500 pounders, and my grass still looks like this. All right, my grass is still 2 or 3 feet tall. All right, my animals, I've already shown you what my animals look like when they're ready for market. All right, I've already shown you what my animals look like when they're ready for market. That animal that I just showed you about 10 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago, that's what an animal looks like when I'm ready to take them to market. All right, you know, I bring them home small, I raise them to be like that, and then I liquidate them. That's how I make my money. This isn't rocket science, okay? It's not rocket science. It's not some difficult thing to understand. I sell big animals and I buy them small, and when I buy them small, I raise them to a commercial standard, which is effectively the highest standards in the world. Some of the highest standards, not you know, not like the highest standards, but you know, I raise them effectively to some of the highest standards known to all of mankind. All right, and you know, I actually do this stuff, okay? I'm gonna see if I can push these animals to the front. I want them to eat a little bit of distiller grains. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention, this morning I actually changed up the animals' diet. And here's a bunch of sunflower plants, right? Like, you can walk around and just take, it's free. I mean, you can just legitimately just walk around and take a look at it. Well, this plant looks pretty good, right? This plant looks pretty good. I mean, I'm taking a look at it, and this is not good right here in the very center. You see that, how the plant is starting to lose color in the very center, and it's pretty drastic. But also when the plant is doing that, but you know, but in terms of a mineral deficiency with my field, I mean, we're probably talking about a sulfur deficiency. But in terms of a you know, because sulfur is immobile, right? I talk about this in terms of minerals. When you're observing the plant material, you're either you know, the plant is either going to have a well, whatever the mineral deficiency of the plant is, the mineral will be mobile or immobile. And if the mineral is immobile, the new growth of the plant will show signs of a mineral deficiency. If the mineral is mobile, the plant will show signs of deficiencies in the undergrowth, in the old growth. And the whole thing, you know, but you also need to understand that you know, the leaf material, the plant material of a plant only has a certain amount of a certain okay, so you know, as plants, okay, so let's say that you have a plant and this plant grows a leaf. That leaf has photosynthetic machinery, and that leaf has you know, is respirating. The leaf is alive. After a certain point, the leaf will actually stop. The photosynthetic machinery in the leaf of the plant and in the plant mass will actually start to degrade. All right, it will actually start to degrade, and so okay, so and so it's, you know, sometimes the old growth of the plant will show signs of effectively decaying. And the reason that it will do that when you have a plant that is, you know, several months old is because the old plant material is effectively dying, because whatever what do you call it, the old leaf material will begin to die, because that old leaf material, it you know, the photosynthetic machinery is beginning to break down, and etc., okay? And so when you take a look at a plant, you have to observe multiple plants, and I would suggest, you know, finding, you know, something like in the middle of the plant, okay? You don't want to look at the oldest growth of the plant, and you don't want to look at the newest growth of the plant. All right, you know, but here's the thing, you know, and you know, because the whole thing about this is, like, when I speak about growing grass, I don't want people to get discouraged. And you know, and you should understand, you know, I don't want you to get discouraged, okay? I don't want you to be in a situation, because here's the thing, and I spoke about this, but you know, like, imagine that we're not talking about farming. Imagine that we're talking about basketball. It would be ridiculous if you decided that one day you were just going to wake up and play basketball like LeBron James. That would be ridiculous. That would be ridiculous. You're not going to wake up tomorrow and play basketball like LeBron James. Nobody cares. All right, I mean, you have to, I mean, if you want to play basketball like LeBron James, you're going to have to go out and do the work that LeBron James did. All right, you know, it's the same thing. When you're watching me farming, I am effectively like one of the best in the world at it. The entire world at it. All right, you know, you're not going to, and don't get discouraged about it. You have, you know, understand that when you grow grass, growing grass is very complicated. It is very, there is no easy way around it. If there was an easy way around it, everybody would have already done it. Growing grass is very complicated, but it is also very cheap. It is also very cheap. All right, if you messed it up for 10 years in a row, you would be out like $5,000. You would be out like $7,000. Even if you completely messed it up for 10 years in a row, you would be out like $5,000. All right, so you have to practice. If you do not go out and at least start putting in the effort, I'm telling you, you won't even make it to the 10% mark if you live to be 5,000. I fell out of heaven at 7 and my life's a magical journey. Nobody cares. Can you actually even do the work? Can you even do 10%? All right, you have to put yourself in a, you have to actually start doing that. You actually have to go and start putting in the effort. And I put a lot of emphasis on this idea because, it's the truth. The money is borderline irrelevant. If you legitimately want to learn how to become a farmer, you have to go out and learn how to farm. Or you have to go and learn how to do it. Nobody's going to wave a magic stick and then you're just magically going to walk into the world and I fell out of heaven at 7 and now you're a farmer. It's not going to happen. The whole thing about, and I talk about this in terms of the broader idea, growing grass on a 10.5 acre field like this costs about $350 a month. All right, I can raise, I legitimately put 4 animals per acre on my grass 24/7 and my grass still looks like that. All right, growing grass is very cheap, but it is also very complicated. If you do not practice, if you do not work on it, you will not just magically be able to do it. When you're watching me grow grass, when you're watching me run my cattle, and you're watching me run my business, I am effectively one of the best in the entire planet at it. I made more money than effectively anybody in the entire US economy by myself on a 10.5 acre field, starting a commercial cattle business. When I take a look at what I'm doing right now, right, and I've been working on this, right, and when I take a look at what I'm doing right now, I will be liquidating about 20 out of my 47 animals in the next month. All right, when I liquidate my animals, I can take that money and just by reinvesting that money, just reinvesting the money with zero leverage, I could expand my balance sheet by 50%, buy myself a load of grain, buy myself a load of feed, and probably even probably still even have $1,000 or $2,000 left over. I could sell my 20 animals, buy 35, buy a load of fertilizer, a load of grain, and I will still probably have $2,000 left over. And in 2 months, I can sell another lot of animals. And the animals that I purchase are purchased at appraisal value. All right, I purchase my animals at appraisal value. If I legitimately want my money back, I can just go and liquidate. Right, I purchase my animals at appraisal values. All right, it's all the same thing. It is all the same thing. Cash is not the only way to have money. Cash is the most ridiculous way to have money, okay? The most ridiculous. If you are looking to make all of your money in cash, you're going to have to pay like 30% of your income in taxes. You'll have to pay like 30% of it in taxes, and the cash will not do anything. This is very important to understand. Cash does not do anything. If you have $1,000 today, that $1,000 will continue to be $1,000 forever. And in reality, in the future, your $1,000 will probably buy you less than it will today. All right, that's called inflation. All right, it's, your dollar will probably go down in value. It will maybe not down in value, but things will cost more in terms of the amount of dollars that it takes to buy them. Probably will. I spoke about this in terms of Coca-Cola. I spoke about this in terms of like your apartment. I spoke about this in terms of beef. Right? Things will probably continue to go up in dollar value. All right, your $1,000. Let's say that you have $1,000 in the bank right now. That $1,000, or not even in the bank. Let's say that you have $1,000 right now. that $1,000 will be $1,000 forever. Legitimately forever. But if you take that $1,000, and let's say that you whatever, you go and you find yourself, let's say you find yourself a lease. I've already even told you how I structured my lease deal. I don't pay anything up front. I pay out a dividend. All right, so let's say that you go and you find yourself a lease. And you say, okay, well, on this lease, if I use $1,000, I can grow enough grass to feed, 50, 60 cattle at a time, no problem. Then guess what? When you put that $1,000 into the field, you will make all of your money back by running cattle. All right, I talk about this, this is, farming does not cost me anything. Farming does not cost me anything. It makes me a massive amount of money. Massive amounts. I don't even know how much money I make. Farming does not cost me anything. All right, if I stopped farming, I would legitimately hemorrhage money. All right, I would hemorrhage money if I stopped farming. All right, farming does not cost me anything. When you utilize your capital to do something like this, you are effectively just trading your money for something. And the whole reason that you're doing that is because the thing that you are trading your money for is equitable. And you have a knowledgeable, you can knowledgeably appreciate the value of said thing that you are purchasing. That's the whole idea. And when you can do this, I call this what? Printing your own money. If you can knowledgeably trade your money for assets and appreciate the value of the asset, you can, that is what I call printing your own money. I can effectively print as much money as I want. That's the benefit. All right, when I go and I purchase these assets and I purchase them at appraisal values, and then I take, and then I take these animals and I put them on grass. And when I grow grass, I grow the grass properly, and I feed the animals to I raise the animals to a commercial standard. When I take a small little animal like this and I turn that animal into a big animal like that, that's called what? Printing. That's effectively me printing my own money. I can print as much money as I want. Effectively, sky is the limit. This is how you make massive amounts of money. All right, you don't want to be in a situation, oh, well, if I just, go and make myself an extra $100, it's not going to do anything. All right, you don't want to be thinking about it in terms of cash. Cash will be a part of it, but it is not the most important part. All right, I would much rather have a good asset than cash. Much rather. When you have good assets that produce you positive returns, you can effectively print your own money. That's what I call printing your own money. All right, when I take an animal like this, a small little animal like this, and I raise that animal to be an animal like that, guess what? I just printed my own money. All right, I printed my own money. That's called printing your own money, right? That's what I call it. That's my whole methodology of making money. And when I purchase these animals and I purchase this grain and I purchase the fertilizer for the grass, it's all tax deductible. And guess what? All of the money that I put into my business, it doesn't matter what we're talking about. It could be the cattle, it could be the grain, it could be the grass, it could be the land. It does not matter. It all makes me a positive return, and it is all equitable. Every single last bit of this is equitable. It's all equitable. And it all produces me a positive return. The grass produces me a positive return. The fertilizer that I put on the grass gives me a positive return. The cattle give me a positive return. The grain gives me a positive return. The land gives me a positive return. The fertilizer is equitable. The cattle are equitable. The land is equitable. Makes a lot of sense, right? That's how I made such a massive amount of money. That's how I did it. I am telling you the truth. I'm not giving you the wrong information. The cattle are equitable. The fertilizer is equitable. The grain is equitable. If I want to figure out the price of fertilizer, how do I do that? I go on the commodity market and look it up. I can just call a local fertilizer yard and ask them. And when I ask them, what kind of fertilizer do I ask them about? Urea. Urea is effectively the baseline for fertilizer. All right, is effectively the baseline for fertilizer. Let's say that you want to appraise the value of an animal. All right, how do you do that? Commodity market, same thing. Let's say that you want to take the appraisal value of your land. How do you do that? You go to a bank and you ask them. All right, you know, it's not confusing. It's not difficult. That's how you do it. If you want to figure out what your land is worth, you go and you ask the bank. You want to figure out what the cattle are worth. Well, first of all, you're going to have to understand what a beef animal is, okay? Once you know what a beef animal is and you understand what a 1 to 1.5 type medium large frame animal is, once you know what that is, once you fundamentally understand what a 1 to 1.5 type medium large frame animal is, and you understand that you have this animal and this animal has been raised to a commercial standard and is 800-pound steer, then you can go on the commodity market and just look it up. All right, this is how okay, when it comes to money, I took a dump on the entire US economy. The whole thing. It wasn't even close. Legitimately took a dump on it on the entire economy. And I'm telling you exactly how I did it. I take my money and I purchase assets. Those assets are equitable, and I purchase those equitable assets at appraisal values. And then I appreciate the value of that asset. And when I do that, I am effectively, you know, making money via an unrealized gain. I get a tax benefit for purchasing the assets. And then that's how I do it. Okay, that is how I did it, legitimately. All right, and, you know, okay, and the reason that, you know, the whole thing about the amount of money that I make is that I'm not telling you how much money I make because I don't know. I legitimately make so much that I don't know. I actually think it's over $30,000 a month. And, you know, here's the thing. I will actually probably expand the size of my business by 50% over the next month and a half. I will actually probably expand the size of my business by more than 250% within 3 months. All right, my income will actually end, you know, and I said that in terms of a range, as of today, as of right now, this business makes me about $350,000, $500,000 a year. That's how much money I make on my business right now. But my income is going up. My income is going up. And it's going up very quickly. So, you know, I will actually end the year making closer to $1 million than I will 350, 500. And the whole thing about this is, you know, it's like I actually did the work. You know, the thing about me is that I actually did the work. All right, I actually, you know, if I didn't do the work, do you think my grass would just magically grow itself? Do you think my cattle would just magically raise themselves? Do you think my business would magically run itself? Is that legitimately what you think? All right, I legitimately do all of, you know, more or less all of this by myself. All of it. All right, and it just is what it is. I mean, you know, me, the whole thing about it is that I don't really care because, you know, it's like, it's whatever, right? I did it. I actually put in the time and the effort to do it. And at the end of the day, you know, it's like the whole thing about my situation is that, you know, if it comes down to it, I'll just be rich by myself. Do I want that to happen? No, I don't. But why would I go and be poor? All right, the average person is not a saint to begin with. Do you legitimately think that the average person will just give their shirt off your back for the rest of your life and then be happy about it, be completely okay about it? Do you legitimately think, you know, people are not, you know, people are not saints. And I didn't sell my soul to the devil for money. All right, and I am sitting here showing you how I make the money. How many times do you think you will be able to get to see somebody who makes more money than effectively everybody? How many times do you think you'll get to see that? Probably not ever. And this may be your only chance to see it. I legitimately out-earned the entire, not the whole thing, but effectively everybody in the entire country. Effectively everybody. The whole thing. All right, effectively everybody. No, and I'm telling you exactly how I did it. Okay, I'm showing you exactly how I do it. All right, and at the end of the day, you know, and it's, you know, I don't, you know, it just is what it is. You know, why would I go and be poor? I legitimately make so much money farming that I don't even know how much money I make. I don't even know how much money I make. Why would I go and be poor? If it comes down to it, I will just make the money by myself. Legitimately, I will sit here and make money by myself if that's what it comes down to. That's what effectively, you know, that's effectively the situation that I'm in right now. I'm making massive amount of money. I don't know anybody even doing 10%. All right, and if it comes down to it, I'll just, you know, and I don't know, you know, what, you know, it just is what it is. Why would I go and be poor? Why would I be poor? Sit there and think about that. I mean, you know, why would I? I mean, if it comes down to it, I'll just be rich by myself. You know, I'll just be rich by myself. If that's what it comes down to, then that is what it comes down to. You know, oh my God, 100,000 bums disagree with me. Why would I care? Oh my God, you know, I actually do this stuff. I actually grow the grass. I actually run the cattle. I actually run the business. I legitimately make so much money running these cattle that I took a dump on the entire U.S. economy. The whole thing. You know, I will be expanding the size of my business, probably, you know, 30 to 50% in the next month. Just in the next month. All right, you know, by the end of the year, I may legitimately expand the size of my business by 350, 500%. And as of right this moment, I am legitimately earning more than effectively anybody in the entire U.S. economy already. All right, I mean, you know, the only way to do something like this is to actually go out and do the work yourself. Nobody's gonna save you. Nobody's gonna save you. Something like this takes a long time to learn. If you legitimately want to learn how to farm, it will take a very long time. I don't know anybody even doing 10%. Nobody cares about your opinions. Let's see it. All right, let's see it. All right, let's see the cattle. Let's see the business. Let's see the grass. Let's see it. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about an opinion. Your opinions are not going to do anything for you. All right, I actually do this stuff. You know, I'm not making this up. All right, you know, I actually do this stuff. All right, you know, and you know, at the end of the day, if it comes down to it, I mean, why would I go and be poor? If it comes down to it, I'll just be rich by myself. All right, and I'm not saying that to be a malicious person. You know, this may be your one chance ever. You know, if you somehow found my channel, this may be legitimately your only, this may be one of, you may be able to see it 2 or 3 times, maybe not even 2 or 3 times your entire life. Seeing, you know, watching somebody legitimately do this well, it may be your one chance in your entire life. You may never see anything like this ever again. All right, you know, I mean, that's incorrect. I mean, you know, Elon Musk is making rockets, right? I mean, Elon Musk and his team are building rockets. I mean, that's incredible stuff too, right? And I've already talked about Starlink. Could I do something like Starlink? You know, I think Starlink is incredible. You know, and so, you know, but you won't see very many opportunities for something like this, okay? You won't see very many opportunities for something like this. You probably, you know, it's very rare, all right? Maybe you see it 3 or 4 or 5 times in your entire life. You know, I made so much money on my 10.5 acre field running cattle that I took a dump on the entire U.S. economy. I don't even know how much money I make. And I legitimately do all of this stuff by myself. More or less, all of it. All right, you know, that's reality. All right, it's not an opinion. All right, nobody cares about an opinion. You know, if you have a bunch of opinions and you have nothing to show for it, what are you gonna do with that? I mean, you're gonna go to the bank. All right, you're gonna go and what? You know, nobody cares. All right, I mean, you know, if this was easy, everybody would be doing it. Everybody would be doing it, right? Think about that for a minute. If this was even relatively easy, everybody would already be doing it. I legitimately don't know anybody even doing 10%. I took a dump on the entire U.S. economy by myself. That's quite incredible, right? Let's just look at it for what it is. And you know, that's it for me today, YouTube. Y'all have a good one.